All right, hey, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Another episode of Stashed Away Thoughts. Your awesome host, Mike here. Again, joined with JP. He's not wearing a Rangers jersey, but I'll give him credit today. He's wearing a Rangers sweatshirt. Looks pretty sick. He's still got his gold chain hanging out. You know how he keeps it. He's thugging as always. And then we're also, as you know, joined by the lovely and very, very intelligent Dr. Lauren Pace. I feel like it's so cool to say doctor. But again, thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We already know a little bit about you. We talked about, brought up what you do. However, I think some people get it always confused with the term psychologist or clinical psychologist. So, if you could just take us through what you actually do.
Yeah. So I think actually what people a lot of times get confused with is like psychiatrist, psychologist, therapists, and you can use them, I think, in some ways interchangeably. Psychiatrists prescribe medication. So like they went to med school, they're physicians.
So they give you the goods.
They give you the goods.
Okay.
There are prescribing psychologists, but you have to go through additional training. I am a clinical psychologist, which just means it's kind of I'm a generalist in that I can treat a variety of diagnoses, and it's at least what I do is treatment, like clinical practice and treatment. So therapy and things like that.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I can openly say, just because I know HIPAA's a thing, but I can openly say that I've sat down with you, and it's been a good time. And you've really helped. Yeah, it's been a splendid time. It's awesome. But you do show care, and I think you truly love what you're doing.
I
so,
do.
how did you get into that job field? Like, what was there a drive there, or something that happened in life that got you to that point?
I think a few things. I've always, as a kid, I was always very intuitive and empathetic. So I think it was kind of genetically, I just was very emotional and attuned to other people's emotions. There was definitely some stuff in upbringing that I think kind of lent itself to wanting to help people. Every family has its dysfunction. And so I think that kind of put me on the path as well. My parents divorced when I was pretty young. And I just found I always wanted to know what was going on. Like I would sneak around. If this is really dark, I'm not trying to be dark, but
no, you're
if
good.
they were like fighting, I would listen outside the door, and that was my way of I think trying to understand as a little child what's happening. And so I leaned into it a little bit, and that kind of set the stage of kind of leaning into the discomfort of difficult emotions. So that was just who I was as a kid. And then, went to college, and I just wasn't totally sure what I wanted to do. But
As every college student is, they think they have it all.
I think I majored. I started with media communication studies.
And look,
I
here
had
you
no
are.
idea.
Here we are. It kind of all panned out. Nice.
It all came full
Yeah.
circle. But I took a general psych class, and I was like, yo, this makes so much sense. This is what's wrong with me. And every general psych student starts diagnosing themselves. And then they start diagnosing
their friends,
family, and
yeah.
their family. But I just was like, this is amazing. Just understanding why people do what they do, patterns of behavior. And so in undergrad, I just started taking more classes related to the topic, and I just fell in love with it. My stepmom is a clinical psychologist as well.
Okay, so kind of an influence there.
Yeah, definitely an influence. So that's, it just has always been, I can't imagine doing anything else.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool to hear that it panned out. Yeah, I went to college for a year before the Marine Corps, and I wanted to be criminal justice major.
I could see that.
Absolutely. If you knew the things I was doing in college, I was far from it. Not to incriminate myself or anything, but a little far from it. Had I known, now I think that maybe something like what I'm doing now would have panned out differently if I knew that's what I wanted to do back then. But kind of like most, it takes kind of that weird event in life to really push you to do something else.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can caveat off of that, but
yeah,
mine for sure was I wanted to be more involved in the mental health platforms because of my brother. So that really gave me that grasp, and that came at the age of 28, 27, somewhere in there. But so you said the influence from your stepmom.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that came together, I think. And obviously I joked about it, but there's something called parentification, which is this term that we use for young kids that kind of have to grow up really quickly and maybe are put in a scenario where they act like little adults because that's how they cope. And there's a lot of people who are in this field who end up becoming therapists because maybe they were an emotional caretaker for like a parent.
Okay.
Maybe they felt like they kind of had to be the good child and kind of take care of everybody's emotions. That was me, like straight up. And,
How many siblings did you have?
I have 3. I have a younger sister, that's my stepmom's daughter, and then I have a twin brother and older sister. And we all handled stuff with my family differently. I was definitely the one who was like, oh, I'm going to take care of everybody and, make sure everybody's good. And so there wasn't like an event that was like, this is what I want to do. As I started, when I went to grad school and I actually started doing like clinic and actually seeing clients, it eventually was like, yeah, this is where I need to be.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because it was very rewarding from the get-go for me.
And that's really good that you said the word rewarding because I guess from an outsider perspective, I would say that it's kind of one of those unsung hero type jobs because you're putting in all the work to help somebody exceptionally.
You're trying.
And you're trying.
You're trying.
And you're doing your best, but you're pouring so much into it to where then it's like, how do you... So from your standpoint, how do you balance you?
Yeah, that's something that I think takes time, and I think a lot of other people in this field would understand what I'm saying. When you are just learning, it is hard to separate. So you might over-identify with people you work with, or you might take it on, like, try to do the work for them.
Okay.
Like, if they're stuck and you're like, okay, well, what do we need to do? What do we need to do differently? Sometimes the answer is it's their life. Like, they have to make the choices to work on themselves or better themselves. So initially you might over-identify, take clients, patients home with you mentally, obviously not legitimately, but mentally. And, you might think about them and maybe be hard on yourself if they're not making progress. In terms of like taking care of yourself, you have to be able to turn that part of yourself off. Like when you leave work for the day or stop seeing clients for the day, you have to separate and kind of recognize, hey, there's other parts of your life that make you. You're not just a therapist. You're not just a psychologist. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it does. It nails it. And then you talked about, undergrad. Mm-hmm. After that, like, if you could map it out, because I know, like, with certain things, like, you get a degree and then you hop right into a job or an internship. So for someone that's in the psychologist field, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
But what's it like for you? And then where did it take you next?
So, I did undergrad, had my bachelor's in psychology, and then I went straight to grad school. So some people will work a little bit, but I just knew that I wanted to get my doctorate. So I went straight to grad school, completed, usually it's 3 to 4 years of grad school, maybe sometimes 5. And then you do, as a clinical psychologist, you do an internship at the end of that. So I did I can't remember, 4 years of graduate school. That last year was my internship. And then you graduate and you have your degree.
Oh, that's cool. And then where did it take you after that?
I decided to join the Air Force.
Oh.
Yep.
Newsflash. Me and JP did not know that. So going into the Air Force, I don't know if it works the same for the Marine Corps, but if you already have a degree in something like psychology, where they're like, hey, this is the only job you're going to get as an officer in the Air Force? I
commissioned as a psychologist, and that's generally the same, I think, across the Navy too. Like, I came in as an 03, and that was my job.
I was going to say, like, imagine if they were just like, actually, we're going to have you be, like, supply or something, like a supply officer.
And I guess it probably depends, like, if you just have your, like, bachelor's or master's, maybe it's different, but health professions, like in the military, there's, like, health professions recruiters. Yeah. That are for, like, dentists.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I know one of my lieutenants way back in the day, like, when he showed up, I was intrigued. He was young, and I was like, "Hey, what's your degree in?" And he said mathematics. And I was like, "All right, like how did they land you in motor T? I mean, we don't even know the alphabet."
That could help, I would think, right?
But motor T is a bunch of rock eaters. If you've never met us, we are the biggest melting pot in the Marine Corps, hands down. So, but no, that's really cool. So, how long were you in the Air Force for?
From 2018 to 2021.
Oh my goodness,
Wow.
fresh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did one and said I'm out.
Okay. Nice. And where, if you don't mind me asking, where were you stationed during that time, or where'd you go?
Yeah. So I did my my internship at Wright Pat University, Wright Pat Air Force Base, in Dayton, Ohio. And that was like a year, and then you get your duty station. So I was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas.
Huh, okay. I've been
Who's
there.
gonna complain about that?
I've been there.
Yeah.
You've been
Nellis?
there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Like,
a really
for
cool
training
base.
events.
Quote unquote training in Vegas.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what we had.
it was good.
Man.
Well, and my husband is a Marine, and so we were married, and that was as close as they would get us. So he was in Arizona, and I was
Okay.
in.
I want to be stationed in Arizona, but I mean Vegas. I don't know actually.
It's good. It was all right.
I was all right.
I'm not a hard partier like that,
Okay,
I
fair enough.
lived in North Las Vegas, so it was just closer to base.
You didn't like gamble here and there?
Mm-mm.
No?
No,
Okay.
not my vibe. Not my
Alright.
Is that
vibe.
like the Henderson area, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, Henderson, and then not Summerlin. I can't think of the name of it right now, but a lot of people who are military would live in North Las Vegas.
Oh wow. No, that's so cool. So then you got out, and then did you go back home for a little, or were you already married at that point?
Yeah, so I got out, and then immediately, the first 3 years of me and my husband's marriage, we were apart. So this was the first time we were like gonna be able to live under the same roof. So I got out and moved to where he was, and I got a job at an air station in Yuma, actually, and started working with Marines and a little bit of Navy here and there, and I loved it.
Well, your husband definitely set us Marines up for success because we got one of the best, obviously.
Yeah, I've loved it. And I'm not just saying that.
Thank
like,
God he got it. You know? Yes. Thank
Marines
God.
are really, really fun to work with, but
I can only imagine. Honestly, yeah. That's so cool though, because I think people forget about like all the intricate pieces that go into the armed services.
Very, very different cultures between branches, obviously.
But more so like as a whole, just no matter what branch you're in, a lot of people forget that we have like the same providers. Like we still have to go to medical, we still have to get dental, we still have to have mental health assessments, we still have to see somebody for our problems, because the biggest issue is with military in general, I think baseline is that we're not good with ourselves a lot of the time, and I think obviously having pieces like you definitely helps. Super cool. So now that you're you and your husband married, you think there was ever a point where your husband was like, all right, she's just gonna break me down, or try to break me down, she's gonna try and break these barriers?
Actually, and this goes to your question earlier, like how do you separate, like how do you make sure you're good? It's good to have a partner, at least this is how I feel, because I have friends who are married to other mental health professionals. It lets me take that hat off, because he'll tell you that he's my therapist. That's what he'll tell you. Like
We have to have him on.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
He'll tell you all the
Fair
dirt.
enough.
Like he'll be like, oh, that's interesting that
She said that.
because the other day we just got into a huge fight about that. But I'm just kidding. But anyways, well, not really. But we're human, and so he definitely helps me like decompress, separate. Like he's like and I can say this, like he's my walking Zoloft. Like, and Zoloft's like a SSRI, like for anxiety.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so he definitely helps me mellow out, and so actually no, like.
Yeah, my wife is my walking cocaine. Yeah. If we're taking this on the drug.
Yeah.
route,
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, he definitely, I take off that hat with him, and it's good. You need to be able to separate from your job, any job that you have.
Oh yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. That's great that you nailed that, because I think a lot of times too, they always think like, oh, if you're married to a Marine, he's just gonna come home and field day the house and then yell at everybody, put everybody outside, and
I have heard that from some people.
And to be honest, that maybe when I was a young Marine
Yeah.
in reality, but I mean, I don't think
Like
that's
knife handing your wife or like.
Yeah, probably something along those lines. Yeah, I probably made her like duck walk and scuzz brush the floor once or twice. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, because I feel like that's a stereotype or a stipulation that people think about psychologists. They're like, oh my god, like Lauren's gonna
she's
come
gonna
over and
read
she's
me
gonna
and-
look at us and she's gonna break out her notes. And be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
interesting.
the therapist.
Yeah.
That's the whole.
What's your go-to?
Gosh.
If somebody says something and you're like in the middle of notes, but you want to acknowledge them, what's your go-to?
That's it right there. Like.
Dude. Me and my buddy.
Like, how does that make you feel?
Yeah. Well,
Sit with that is a really good one.
Me and my buddy
Can we
call.
sit with that?
Yeah, me and my buddy always like if we say a joke or something, the other guy's just like, ha, and we call it a courtesy laugh. So now to tie to you, I feel like that's your version.
Or
of courtesy
to
laugh.
like really like send something home. I'll be like, absolutely. It's like every therapist has like their own little tick, But at the same time, I think people, and I'm of this school of thought, like we're human. No therapist, no psychologist, LCSW, LMFT, these are different, like they're all therapists, but different kind of backgrounds and degrees, I guess. But we're all people, and so we have challenges just like everybody else. Like we're not better than anybody else. If anything, if you've been through your own stuff, I think it makes you a better therapist.
That's true. Do you think in the beginning you ever like tried to use the tools?
Oh, yes. On my own family, I'd be like, I know what you're doing. I know what you are. And
You ain't hiding from me.
and I actually, my sister and I will be chatting, and she'll say stuff like, Lauren, quit therapizing me. I don't need a therapist right now. And so, you can hear that sometimes. There's a difference, right? Versus sometimes people just want you to listen to them and they don't want you to,
Fix all their problems.
Yeah, they don't want you to fix all their problems. But it goes the other way too, where sometimes you have friends and family who will put stuff on you emotionally, and it's like, no, this is my day job. I can't give this amount of energy and effort to like my family and friends. So I've had friends where I'm like, literally I'll just listen, or I'll say like, hey, I can say this to you as a friend, like I'm not talking as a therapist right now.
Yeah.
Like having those good boundaries.
You have to have the on-off switch. It's like when me and my wife were stationed in Fort Leonard Wood, our next door neighbor was a medical provider. So like God forbid our kid like scraped their knee. She'd be like, do you think we need to ask Zane next door? I'm like, oh my God. The guy does not want to be bothered on Saturday to like look at this injury.
But I can understand the temptation for sure. Like, oh, they're just right there.
Yeah,
it's
the resources there.
Yeah.
So now I guess kind of like a deeper thought for you. You and your husband do not have kids, correct?
Mm-mm.
Do you think that those traits will come out more if you're a mom?
Which traits?
Like the wanting to dive in and dissect a little bit because it's your child. Like I just feel like if I'll put it in this perspective, I'm trying to put it like if I was a psychologist, maybe I would have like looked at my wife and been like, all right, XYZ, put it in order. But then over time it's like that. But then when it's your kid and you feel like there's a real responsibility there, do you feel like you're going to be more inclined to peel back the onion, dissect what they're doing?
Probably. I think like if you're a medical doctor, and I was actually just talking about this with someone earlier, you might feel like, let's say that you know how to treat a medical condition. Well, you shouldn't treat your own child. A lot of physicians will say that because you're not able to be like unbiased.
Yeah.
You're not able to be like separate, and so because of that, you might treat your child differently. Now, it's not to say that you don't have that tendency. Like if I have that training and I'm looking for certain traits, I might be more attuned to it, but I'm still gonna, obviously I don't have kids, but I have family members who have children. I would still recommend, hey, like take them to a professional. Like this is your child. You can't therapize your own child, or you're still gonna be biased.
Is that a word?
Probably.
Therapize?
It's probably not in the dictionary, but
because you're a psychologist, you've got me believing it's a word.
That's what we do.
Yeah. Real quick, I did want to say, because I completely forgot in the beginning. this for anybody
Oh,
listening.
thank you.
Yeah, anybody listening, this is not a direct reflection of the Department of Defense, the DoD. What we do are their opinions, or it does not reflect their beliefs or their standing. It also does not reflect Dr. Pace and her job. And
Yeah,
who
this
she's
is not
associated
therapy.
with.
This is just chatting. Like, go see a therapist if you feel like you need a therapist.
Yeah, this is like the 1-800 Dr. Pace number. Like,
Oh
this
no!
is-
Don't be
no,
putting
just
that
kidding.
out there.
No, but no. Yeah, in all seriousness, this is not a reflection of DoD or those other entities. Yeah, sorry, I had to
Yeah, no,
slide
you're
that in
good.
there. Let's see. So peeling back the onion, looking at your kid. I don't want to dive into the questions because we did get a good Q&A
We did.
from some anonymous people. I just love to hear more about you because that's our dynamic. Let's see. So working with Marines, what has been like the highlight of that?
I think I generally working with military, it's, to me, it's a very special population. And I believe that. Like, people who decide to serve whatever branch for whatever reason, whatever MOS, it's a special population. Like, in grad school, this was such a niche, and people that I went to school with really fought to be able to work with the military population for lots of different reasons. But
Because we're all a little messed up in the head.
maybe that's why.
For real,
But-
dude.
but
We
actually-
suck.
They look at us and they're like, dude, I need to get in there.
I think that's what recruiters do.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, all right, what kid looks like he is in a split home, maybe worked a job as a busboy. Actually, that dude. Hey, have you ever thought
Let's
of
get
joining
this
the-
guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's get this guy. I think so that idea of the service above self, like, obviously that's not everybody in the organization, but I do find that there's a sense of purpose in terms of working with the military. Probably working with Marines specifically. I have just enjoyed. It is actually such a blend of different cultures and backgrounds. Like, you wouldn't think that. You wouldn't think, maybe you would think you get one type of person that you work with, and it's not the case. Like, I've met the most amazing people that have been colleagues of mine, and then also clients of mine, that it's like all different walks of life.
Yeah.
And that's not something I think people realize who aren't like in this world, is it's not just one type of person.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So I guess going back a little bit to like the self-care, what are some self-care things that you have for yourself?
I know this sounds so cliche, but it's so true. Like, physical movement, activity, you don't have to go do like CrossFit, but
Are you a CrossFitter?
I do like, it's called Chalk. It's a program called Chalk Performance.
I don't know what that is.
It's like CrossFit-like. It's not as hardcore as like CrossFit, but I think that having that outlet is so important for everyone's mental health, and it could be literally going for a walk outside. Like, it doesn't have to be, anything crazy, but that's a routine of mine. Like, it's a very much a part of my life. It's been a part of my life for years. So I think physical fitness, and then again, sleep. Sleep is everything.
And that's like a big piece of what you do, right?
I do.
Can we dive into that?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm a big sleep nerd. Like, I love talking about sleep from
Sounds so
behavioral.
weird to hear. Sleep nerd.
I am.
You
There's
should
a
probably talk to
book.
my kiddo because apparently she's a sleep nerd. Just sleeps all the time. She must be
Oh,
studying
she
or
loves
something.
to
Yeah.
sleep. Well, there's a book called Why We Sleep. It's a great book. I can't remember the name of the author, but prioritizing sleep is a game changer for mental health. And like, we don't know a lot about why we dream. We don't know a lot about like the functions of sleep, but we know that it's really important for overall health. So not sacrificing sleep if you can. Obviously, that's something that comes up a lot in the military.
Yeah.
Like, sleep is a problem across branches because of the different types of jobs, and sometimes you don't have the opportunity. Like, you're going.
Or like if you're on a certain shift, like I know guys that
Uh-huh.
are like night shifts, so during the day they're sleeping, where it's just all thrown off. Like your
Mhm.
nocturnal clock
Mhm.
is kind of thrown off. So.
Yeah, you're, and you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
However, there are ways like around that, in terms of maybe you're not sleeping at the time in which we're biologically wired to sleep, but how can you offset that with other habits? So if you are able to, sleep is everything. And there's a misconception, not everybody needs like 8 hours.
Yeah.
people range from 7 to 9. And it really depends on the person. I've worked with people who feel good on 6 and they're fine. But there's no have to get 8 hours. Like, it's how you feel the rest of the day. Around mid-morning, if you feel like you're functioning pretty well, that sleep could be like 7 hours. That might be your sleep need. But it's different for everybody.
I was going to say, I know you did like a class for us one time on, you know, your sleep study and like the sleep cycle and all that. And you gave us a pointer about nap time.
Do you remember what I said?
Yeah, you said that pretty much if you're coming home from work and you're taking a nap anywhere after 1500, or for those not military, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then you're messing up your... I'm sorry, but I've neglected that one. I nap all the time. I don't know what it is. I come back, I hit my couch out like a light.
Are you able to sleep later that night?
No.
Yeah, well.
No is the honest answer.
Well, there's a reason for that.
And then I get up for the gym at 4. So
okay.
I think my sleep schedule is pretty weird.
Well, one of the best things you could do is wake up at the same time every day.
Okay, alright, so I've nailed that then.
Yeah, wake up at the...
So
no matter how
naps. Keep the naps.
Hey, live your life.
Yeah.
Live your life.
There was a guy that worked with us named Chino, and he always used to say that every time, because I was sitting there as a company guns, I'd ask him for advice because he's a retired Master Sergeant. And I'd just be like, hey, how would you handle this? And he'd be like, oh, I would do this. And I'd be like, well, and I'd have something to say. And he'd be like, you know what? Do what you want because you're just going to do it anyway. And that was kind of how I felt right there. When you were like, you know what? Live your life.
Live your
It was
life.
kind of like a nicer Chino way to say it. Like,
No, but
just live
that's...
your life.
I hear that all the time, like long naps. Shorter naps early in the day are okay. But once you're getting that late afternoon, you basically... It's called sleep drive. You don't have enough sleep drive built up to fall asleep later. Like when you nap, it cuts into that. So that's a really... If you can limit napping...
You should have brought a whiteboard. So
I know. See, when you get me on sleep, like
She's
it's...
gonna do the fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's sleep is one of those things that if you can kind of commit to some of those basic sleep hygiene, but also kind of just sleep rules in terms of behaviors, you can get sleep back on track pretty quickly. And that's not... You could have a bunch of deployments. You could have had sleep problems for years. It's called cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. If people want to look it up. It is...
If anybody wants to fact check her.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah.
It is now. It's first line
Bring
of...
your A game. Yeah.
It's first line of treatment for sleep or insomnia ahead of medication. Because medication, you can't use it forever. So, CBTI, look it up.
CBTI coach doing it right now.
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yep.
There's an app for
Really?
it.
Yep.
Oh, you're not a coach.
No.
Dude, I thought when you said CBTI coach doing it right now, I was supposed to be like, same.
Well,
Like coaching, baby.
well, I'm saying this, so it doesn't matter, but Dr. Pace is my coach on CBTI sleep
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Damn, and is it working? Put it on the spot. Is it
Well, he
working?
just started.
I just started.
Oh,
Hey.
wow. Now.
I want it to work because I'm going to pass it on to my wife because my wife naps for like 3 hours a day.
Yeah. Well, and that's
And then
the thing.
she sleeps for like 12 hours at night.
Well, interesting. We'll talk offline about that.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I think understanding that once you learn these strategies, you have them forever.
Yeah.
And like you can get your own sleep back on track. So yeah, I mean, sleep is something I'm really passionate about. And back to your original question, it is so key for kind of being able to take on the stressors of the day and kind of manage your own emotions. And so sleep, exercise, these are things people know. They know them.
What's your therapy food? You're having a bad day.
Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese.
You really
Any
can't go wrong
form.
with it.
Any form. Easy mac. Like baked mac and cheese. That's like, if I was on death row, that would be my last meal.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Just mac and cheese.
Yeah.
If you're on death
Yeah.
row.
Now you
Well,
brought it up.
add
Now that you brought it up.
You gotta
Death
add
row.
something to it.
Well, I do. I'm a big desserts gal too, so we'd have some sort
Like a mac and cheese sundae.
Yes.
Yeah. Some mac and cheese with
maybe
hot
like
fudge
a
and whipped
piece of
cream.
chocolate cake or ice cream.
Now, what are your psychologist thoughts? I have to ask now.
Okay, I'm scared.
People who have chocolate cake and then put applesauce on it.
I've
What?
never heard that in my life.
I wish my
Is this
wife
a
was
thing?
here. My wife and her whole family only eat chocolate cake by putting applesauce on it.
Wait.
Swear to God.
Where's your wife from?
Same place as me, Philadelphia area.
I'm gonna have to do some research.
That's
I've
like
never...
her dad did it. Mom, everybody down. It's almost like if they came out the womb and didn't like that, they weren't part of the family.
That is
because when I first met my
interesting.
wife, they were like, "Oh, you gonna have some cake?" And I was like, And they were like, "You gotta try with the applesauce." And I'm like, "Well, absolutely not."
Not doing that one.
Or to throw a little pun in there, absolutely not. There we go.
You just come up with that on the
right now. Yeah, absolutely not. Anyway, but I'm not a cake eater, so they were more upset that I didn't like cake in general.
Yeah, that's also very strange.
But what's worse? Now you feel like you put me on the chopping block because I don't like cake. Mine comes from PTSD of not liking cake.
It was a traumatic experience.
Yeah,
of
so
cake.
when I was a kid growing up, I would love the movies, The Mighty Ducks. Right, and it's a hockey-based film, and all the kids that were like rich and snobby and didn't want to be a part of the Mighty Ducks, they were called cake eaters. I never wanted to be a cake eater.
And that was game changer.
That's why you don't like cake?
Hey, do you see me taking off this duck?
That's
Ducks
weak.
fly together.
That's weak.
That's not
very
weak.
weak.
That's not weak.
You would
Ducks
easily
fly
be
together.
defined as a cake eater in that movie.
No.
You would be one of the
Are
cake
you
eaters.
kidding? Are you kidding? I'm a Mighty Duck through
no
and through.
judgment. To each his own.
Yeah.
Like if you don't like cake, you don't like cake. It's okay.
I am disheartened by your comments over there. Okay, so we talked about therapy food.
Yeah.
If you go to the gym, are you listening to music?
Oh yeah.
What's like a go-to genre
Oh my
for
gosh,
Dr.
this
Case?
is probably. I'm like, should I say this? It's gonna surprise you.
All right, let us guess. I mean, obviously, looking at you.
I love music. I love like.
You
all
have
genres.
one guess, I'll do my guess.
Okay.
All right, I want to throw my curveball one out there.
Okay, go ahead.
Techno, like EDM, like.
Yeah. That's
like,
definitely.
Like the hard.
That's
like just
in there.
The beat.
What is
What do
your
you
guess?
got?
Hardcore rap.
Yeah.
Like Kevin Gates.
Yes, I'm really into. Should I even admit this right now?
Kevin Gates.
No, I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna say.
No, come on. Are you about to pull something up? Nice. What
No,
do we
no,
got?
no.
You have your music open.
No, to your point, yes, I love, and it's a mix, right?
Oh,
but
now
like,
I want to know.
well-
This is Stashed Away Thoughts. What's your Stashed Away music playlist?
oh gosh, it really it's just a mix. I'm like worried if I say who it is, it's like gonna offend people.
No.
Why would it
Why
affect
would it
people?
affect-
Okay, right now, Key Glock. That's my go-to.
Key Glock.
Key Glock.
I've never
Do you
listened
have
to
something
it.
right there? Can you
But-
play it into the mic?
Will
real
it
quick?
work?
Yeah, it'll pick
Yeah.
it up.
No, it's gonna be it's
No.
too much.
No, it'll pick it up.
No, I'm saying like it's probably not appropriate.
We have on our Spotify. If you're not
Here,
18
here.
years or older, you cannot listen to our podcast.
Yeah, we have explicit on.
Yeah,
All right. Let's see.
you're good because I'm actually.
I'll
really
just play
curious.
the beat. How about that? There's one that's on my.
I want to hear some lyrics. I'm a
most-
lyric guy. Yeah.
on repeat on Spotify. That's a good one. My husband's gonna kill me. Is that too loud?
No.
Oh, I've heard this, but keep it going because this is a bop. You never heard this?
No.
It's a move.
It's good.
It's like. Oh.
Okay,
Oh.
you know it. You know. Are you gonna spit a verse?
Oh, I can spit a verse.
Okay.
Oh, this is one of my favorite sounds. Hey. Young kid coming out of Philly, you know what it is. I'm the best that ever did it. I'm the best in the biz, but I keep it real. Shaky looking. Well, hey, don't hate. I gave it. I
It
gave
threw him
what I got.
off because there's
Yeah.
somebody else on there.
Yeah. You know what? Put some respect on my name.
That was good and brave. That was brave of you.
Yeah, confidence through the roof. And if I was drinking, if I was a little tipsy, I would go, but my words wouldn't mesh. There's no
But
way.
it doesn't matter.
No.
As long as you have the confidence.
And I was
behind
so serious. I talked about this last week. Karaoke is like my favorite thing to do.
it. That's amazing.
Like, and I'll be the first one in a group of people. I'll go first.
that says a lot about a person.
Oh no, I appreciate
That
that.
really
But that also said a lot about you.
I know.
That
it's
music choice.
embarrassing. It's embarrassing. But
Why is it
yeah.
embarrassing? That's you though. I think that's so cool that you.
Well, and like that. So what you saw right there is I'm like, okay, I'm my professional like role, who I am versus like who I am as a person. That is a part of like this job is how you present yourself and how you carry yourself. And so you're like, okay, is this something that like I want my clients to know?
Key clock.
But you also want to be relatable, especially I think working with the
Yeah.
military. If you come in on your high horse as a psychologist, as a therapist, most of the time that person in front of you, military or not, is going to be like, I can tell that you're not being genuine. I can tell that you're not being yourself.
Yeah.
And you want to build rapport with the
Do you have
people.
any tattoos?
I do.
I was gonna ask that because
no.
What are they bad?
It's like silly. It's like cliche.
Well, now I want to know what it is. You don't gotta show us.
You
what
can't say silly when he
Whoa.
has some of the
That's true.
weirdest tattoos
Is that
in the
that's
world.
a sheriff badge or?
Yeah, I am
Okay.
the sheriff of the outlaws.
You are not a sheriff.
I am. Mustache, check.
You're
Hat
not-
on, check. Gunslinger, absolutely, check. Tattoo to prove it.
I
This,
guess
this badge doesn't come off. You'd have to cut it off me. What we got?
Just a quote. It's just a quote. It's actually my mom's handwriting, which is really cool. So she wrote it, and listen, I got it after a breakup, which is my first mistake, right?
Oh, you never. Do
I was in
anything after
college.
breakup. Oh,
Literally don't do anything. Don't touch the scissors spray hair.
Oh, you just sit on the couch.
Nope.
Rule number
Not
one:
me.
breakups.
Not me.
Unless you did the breaking up.
Yeah.
But
Oh
if
no,
you're the-
I was dumped. I was dumped.
Do you remember his name?
Yeah.
Call him out. Call him out. Call him out. Hey, we're looking for you. How dare... Actually, maybe that was your rise to glory, though. You needed that breakup, because imagine if
It
that
was.
panned out.
But imagine
Tell him. Let him know, if he ever listens.
if you married the person that you like dated in college, and people, they're high school sweethearts, but a lot of times, you know that saying, if
I wouldn't be sitting here. No, I don't know. I'll let you finish your thought, because now I'm thinking.
different person, totally different person, evolved. You're supposed to grow. You're supposed to,
So what's your tattoo say?
Here we go. And in time, this too shall pass.
What is that? Is that from a book?
It's
From the Bible.
Yeah.
Oh, my next guess was Lord of the Rings.
No, it's thou shalt not pass.
Yeah. That's from
Lord of the Rings.
quoting Gandalf, right?
Yeah, Gandalf.
You should have got that.
Anyway, so I have one.
You
This
got
one.
that after a breakup?
I did.
It was the breakup. I don't want to say that bad, because I feel like whether you're the breakup or the dumped, it's bad either way. There's always something. Was that relationship long, like a long one?
Yeah.
So like I could see.
Well,
that
you know
then.
what though? I think, and this kind of goes on
This in
topic
time shall
of.
soon pass. This
No.
shall soon pass in time.
And in time, this too.
Thou shalt not pass. Sorry.
Listen, my husband makes fun of me so much, but at the time, this circles back to mental health, right? At certain points in your life, you might choose partners that are not. Well, not that the relationship is bad, but behaviors in relationships can speak to like your own mental health, and so, at that time, early 20s, you're still figuring yourself out for sure, but. There's a term like codependent, which is thrown around. Have you ever heard that? Codependency.
JP has, I have not.
Well, where you're just so like enmeshed.
Nor have some of our listeners, just to clarify. I'm not going on.
It's not just you. It's not
Yeah, it's not just me.
when you're like enmeshed with your partner and you don't have your own identity and
Okay.
like their happiness kind of drives your happiness, and it's a behavior that can cause a lot of anxiety, cause a lot of like toxicity. So
Okay.
kind
I
of
love
at
that
that
word.
time when you're so young, a lot of young relationships are very codependent, but that's probably what that relationship was for sure. And looking back, you see that now. Whereas in my, relationship now, obviously we're not perfect, but we have our own identities, our own lives, and like passions and.
Yeah. No, that's
Sounds like my
awesome.
brother's marriage right now.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Codependent, you mean?
He is 100%. He's in the Navy too.
Ah.
He needs to go see a therapist.
Well, and sometimes it's the
Hey, here she
difficulty in like sitting with yourself.
You
like,
get a family discount?
yeah, 25% off.
I booked
maybe.
you longer than this so you could sit down with my wife and actually just do shit, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Real ring. I think it's really cool that because I was going to tie it to, I know a lot of people say, like, what's a good form of therapy if they're not ready to talk to a person?
Yeah.
I've always done tattoo therapy. And that's just been me, where it's like, I'm treating myself to something I want. What are your thoughts on it? Because I see you getting ready to, like,
Well,
say
no.
it.
I mean, tattoos are expensive, right? Like, they're expensive.
I think it depends.
No,
Maybe-
they're expensive, dog.
If you can get it done in a garage by a friend, it'll breeze over.
Well,
You
they
just
just
buy
they'd be
lunch.
good, though.
It turns into like you just getting them Bojangles all of a sudden. And
I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad coping mechanism, but it's probably an expensive coping mechanism.
because I'll tell you what, I feel like with my one artist, who I hope to have on at some point, I feel like every time I go and get artwork done from him or tattoos done, it ends up into being a therapy session. Because it starts
Interesting.
with like the simple thought of just like, hey, how you been? And then it's like, and then you don't even know you're like talking to somebody that's not a therapist, but you're getting your ink therapy.
Yeah. No, actually, the equivalent to that is like
Some
going
people
to
say
your.
they like it because of the pain. I'm like, I don't. do that.
I've
I'm
known
not that
people who have
serious.
said that too,
I'm
but
not
like
that
going to your
serious.
hairstylist or like going to your barber.
Treating yourself to something.
There's something about like sitting and having that conversation whilst getting your hair done or whatever. It kind of takes that pressure off. But I think what I'm constantly telling people is you have to build your circle. Like I think going to a therapist is imperative, and your therapist is with you 45 minutes to an hour weekly or every couple of weeks and is not in your life with you.
Yeah.
People will often say, well, I don't need anybody, like I'm good, or I don't talk to people about this type of stuff. I mean, we are social creatures. And I'm not saying it has to be like I'm going to go spill my guts to my buddies, but like go do something with people. Go grab dinner, go, I don't know, like
Socialize.
socialize.
things, yeah.
Because that is a lot of times what happens is when you sit and like marinate in your thoughts and you're just having a conversation with yourself, that is where I think a lot of people get in trouble.
Okay. That's good. I was also thinking too, because JB brought it up, like tattoos are expensive. Do you think, what do you think is personally worse? If somebody were to, I know we talked about like what's your therapy food. I know sometimes when people are stressed, they stress eat. When some people are stressed, they spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
Which one do you personally think weighs
Between
heavier?
the two?
Yeah.
If we're talking like, if we're not talking clinical level, like we're not talking eating disorder, we're not talking
Yeah,
like
no,
gambling
just
problem,
straight up. Oh,
but just like normal coping. So you said between spending a lot of money and
eating a lot of food, yeah.
God.
Or not eating in that case, I guess, because that happens. Well, I'll say.
I would
that's
say
all gonna get built up into a disorder.
Yeah,
Almost.
yeah.
both of these could be really bad. Both of these could evolve into something pretty terrible.
Okay.
But I think if you, and I will tell people that I work with sometimes, like, if you're having a crappy day and you're just in your feels, it is okay every now and then to like go home and eat that ice cream. Like if you are just feeling like I need something that's going to just like brighten my day just a little bit. I think anything in excess is not helpful. Like I think if you're obsessively going to the gym and that's the only way that you are dealing with your anger or your sadness, you're still neglecting other ways of coping. Like it still can be taken to the extreme. Spending money for sure. Like if you're just doing retail therapy, okay, maybe every now and then you're like, this is something I've been wanting for a while, and so I'm gonna like splurge on this. But if you're doing it every day, you're still avoiding your emotions. Both overeating, overspending, working out too much. You're avoiding sitting with your emotions.
You're just procrastinating the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I brought that up before with the gym. I used to be a firm believer that like going to the gym was the therapy, but then I started like looking at it and I was like, man, the gym might be my goal instead.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that I'm using it for therapy is gonna, if I'm going into the gym angry, I'm probably more likely to like hurt myself. Then now I can't even do.
Or
the
you
gym.
just associate it with something negative, like I'm ticked off. So and every time I'm this anger, I just spend 3 hours in the gym. Then it's like, how is it gonna remain enjoyable if it's associated with something so negative?
No, I like that. I'm glad you
But
brought that up.
back to what I said earlier. I think movement in general. I'll say movement, not like physical fitness, but movement is imperative to just overall mental health. It just is, and we know that. We know that for sure. I mean, there's lots of studies out there that talk about long distance running. In terms of impact on the brain, is just as impactful.
God.
Long distance running, not a fan.
Makes me sick.
Anytime.
Yeah, dude, makes me sick. shorten my brain, I guess, if that's the case. Like, take away my brain cells because
I'd rather not.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
That's why Caesar's so healthy up in the brain, because then
But he's not.
runs.
But he's not. And if he was here, I'll tell him. Also, I wanted to point out another reason. I know you've sat down with Dr. Pace, and so have I. And I'm gonna say this, just me and
scared.
you. Yep. Have you ever seen the one? She wears a pair of jeans.
Oh my! They're not including this.
The reason I asked about her going to the gym, she makes me feel absolutely inferior in the leg area. She has massive calves.
They're not.
She wore a pair of jeans one time in flats, so that means you're not flexing your heel to bring out the calf. I felt like I was sitting the whole time in my with my calves flexed. Like I gotta show her up because these things were boulders, bro.
I was a dancer when I was younger, and it's that Norwegian blood. Norwegian women are like strong.
Are you Norwegian?
Mm-hmm. Norwegian and
She's
French.
not a witch. She's Norwegian.
She's practiced her.
Are you Norwegian?
Norwegian. So what's that? Like Viking, right?
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's genetic. It's genetic because
we're learning a lot today. Air Force, Norwegian, and Keeglock.
Keeglock.
You are learning a lot.
You knew this stuff?
That Norwegian was Vikings?
No,
yes.
No. I knew that. I meant more stuff about Dr. Pace.
Well, no, absolutely not. That's what we're having on, so we can learn.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
Why you gotta do this to me?
Well, what I will say is my family, they're big on... And I'm the odd one out, but they've all done, like, multiple Ironmans.
Maiden name. Are you allowed to say or no? Or
Henry.
Henry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I hate people that just do Ironmans for fun.
They do.
I don't understand.
They're insane.
There was a guy I knew that he did it for fun. He had the Ironman logo tattooed on him. He had around like 15 of them.
Listen. My dad has an Ironman thing right here. My brother has one. My step. They are that family. I have not done one.
Isn't the Ironman like the 10 events? Am I getting that mixed up?
It's a triathlon.
Oh, triathlon. Okay.
Swim, bike, run, and they love it. They live for it. But they're very you know, I think there's something to setting a goal for yourself and kind of having a focus. No matter what, like, your job is, no matter what is happening in life, hey, this is for me. Like, it's a race or it's a, you know, like a fitness goal. Whatever it is, you invest that time in it. You make that commitment. And so, I mean, would I do an Ironman? No, absolutely not. But it...
Could you, though?
Maybe. No, I don't know. I'm with you. I'm like, why would you suffer
do you wanna run
like this?
We were at a training event and we go out drinking and all of us come back. It's like 2 a.m. and we're all drunk. And then 3 hours later, I wake up to the sound of zzz. I'm like, what is going on? Am I still drunk? Well, no, this dude, I'm not going to say his name. This dude is just up on his bike.
Yeah.
I was like, we just got back from drinking 3 hours ago.
Different
Well, I feel like that's where Marines excel. How many times?
Dude,
have
he
you been
made Doc get up, give him a banana bag, so that he can bike the distance that he has to bike. No.
Well, that's there's a mental toughness to it. And you guys, I mean, the military, I mean, there are certain MOSs for sure that it's like, there's a little bit of, I like physical pain. Like, there's something about this that, like, and, you know, there's people that mentally are just, like to push themselves in that aspect for sure. But anyways.
Oh, that's cool. I feel like if you're a Marine, like, you've had at least 2 experiences of being hungover and then going to like a PT event.
Oh, 100%.
Like, and because...
Or still drunk.
Yeah, and you didn't care. Like, I can't even think about how many times when I was a junior Marine that, like...
Could you do that now? Like, could you...
Oh, yeah.
You could do it now?
You could still do that? No way, bro.
Go out all drinking and then get back on it. I
have like 3 drinks and I can't wake up the next day.
Hey, I know this guy's going to be listening. Tristan, whenever you feel free, contact these 2. Let them know what I'm about. Because when I'm even home on leave...
Don't let me know what you're about.
Yeah. When I'm home on leave, I will go out drinking and whatever. And then the next day, gym by 7.
That's insane.
Just get to it. Don't even care.
Get a headache?
What's a headache?
Does your tummy hurt?
It's called push through. No, I'm just kidding. It's called move along. But speaking of moving along, because we definitely want to get to these.
Yeah.
I know we got. I don't even know where our time's at. We usually come up on a spot because our editor cuts us short. We're at 50. Oh, that's good. We're great. We're doing awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have some questions. So
yeah, this
I know
will be fun.
I know I asked you. We had some people anonymously, so I really don't know who sent these. We got some weird ones. Appreciate all the crushes out there, but it's not really what we're looking for. But we did get some good questions from people that want to hear from you, whether it's advice, your take on it, or if it's a answer, just a flat out answer. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I think just off the top, like if you're thinking about starting therapy, you know, part of coming on here is it's like my hope is to kind of put out there that your therapist is just a person. Like it's not this scary thing. They want to get to know you. They care about you. Most therapists do. Like every profession, you have people who are not so great. But I think if you're thinking about it, do it. Try it. There's nothing that you'll have to lose from it. But I just wanted to like put that out there. I don't know if that's...
That was her sell.
It was my sell because I think people wait and it's like you don't have to suffer by yourself. You don't have to. Now, I know there's challenges with like getting in, especially for the military. There's like accessibility is tough, but I think the DoD, the military in general, not speaking on behalf of them, but there are programs out there that are growing. There's lots of telehealth options that have come out that take TRICARE and stuff like that. TRICARE or not, I think there's platforms that are growing. So it's not going to hurt to just make the appointment and try. So.
I'll kind of tie it to like, so I also sit down with Dr. Pace, and again, she's been phenomenal. One thing that she offered me at one point, and I guess this kind of ties to it with if you're thinking about therapy or asking these questions, maybe that's just you needing to just go do it, make the jump, and just see what it's about. It came down to me. I remember talking to her about starting this podcast back up before I even told JP, like, hey, I want to bring you in, and I would love for you to do this with me. I had my own self-doubts where I was like, all right, do I really want to do this? I think I even talked to you about picking out the chairs, where you were like, dude, slow down.
I'm like, why are we so focused on the freaking chairs?
Oh, that's how you really felt? Is that why you gave me the absolutely? Yeah, because now it comes
all
out.
In good
That was
fun,
the
all
stash
in good
away thought for Dr.
We're not violating HIPAA.
Yeah. No, but it was so helpful to me because you were like, dude, if you already have stuff mapped out and the chairs are the only thing holding you back, go buy the chairs you want and do it. Like, do it. And so here I am. And now this is cool because this is kind of like a revolving factor for you. Like, you wouldn't be sitting here if you didn't tell me, like, just get the fucking chairs.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. And that's the thing is we don't always get to hear, like, how our clients do on the back end. Like, you know, you end therapy and, but when you do find out that they're doing well or maybe they did that thing that they put off, it is, like, the best. Because the point of therapy is, I think, having a therapist that helps you be the best version of yourself, like helps you in some sense be able to self-reflect, be your own therapist and recognize, hey, I need to kind of get myself into gear and like what do I need to do better here, and also pursue the things that you're afraid of or pursue the things that make you anxious or that you've always wanted to do. Like having a good therapist can, at the end of the day, you took the step. Like, I didn't do anything. You took the step.
You and my wife would get along because she also treated the same way. They're just fucking chairs, Mike. All right, just get the damn chairs.
And I probably didn't articulate that well, but if you're thinking about it, just do it. Just do it.
It's followed by an absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Real quick before we do move on, because I just thought about this, because I thought about going to your office. You have outside your door like a little noisemaker.
I do.
A little sound thing. Why don't you ever put key glock on that thing? Talk about being genuine and like.
I don't know. That'd go over well.
I think the whole hallway would bump. They'd be feeling it, but anyway, that was my little thought there.
Yeah, everybody's always so concerned about that machine. They're like, what is that?
Oh, yeah, well, it is kind of like white noise. Right?
Yeah, it's just like, privacy.
You make scary movies. Especially if the lights went off in that hallway, I'd be like, and that thing turned on? I think it did when I was OD once.
Oh, no.
Turned on and the lights were off.
Terrifying.
Absolutely not. Absolutely went condition 1 and was ready to shoot nothing. Yeah. So yeah, JP, what kind of questions we got for Dr. Pace? Let's dive in. Oh yeah, good.
We're gonna stop there.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna
Do you need a bathroom break or anything?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
How am I doing?
What are you talking
I
about?
look good.
How are we doing?
Good.
All right, you're doing great.
Yeah.
Are you at least having fun?
Oh no, so much
Okay.
fun. This has been so fun. I want to make sure I'm getting to stuff that you guys like wanted from me. So hopefully.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
about you.
Yeah.
We're getting it.
Okay.
Key Glock was a key part.
I don't.
Awesome.
I'm adding it to my playlist. See, when I asked you the other day, like, what's a good song? Now I'm taking that one because.
No.
So when we build the episode, we usually put their favorite song in the picture slide so that people can say, "Oh, that's a good."
That
Jim
doesn't match me at all. Like my whole.
Cause she sent me like I didn't even listen to them actually.
They're so good.
But now that I've heard that one, that's going
It's
up.
definitely
There's no turning around from that.
She's a G.
Yeah, dude, straight up thugging out.
But I've always been that way. Like in college, that's what I was.
You need to get like a neck tat or something now.
I know. I need to be more edgy for sure.
I can put you in touch with my artist.
Yeah, I've always wanted one like right here.
Are you into like traditional stuff or no?
What does that mean?
Right here. Flash
I I don't know enough about tattoos.
Does your husband have tattoos?
He does. He has 3 now.
Okay.
But his were, you know how like.
I thought he'd be way.
We're not
more
recording,
tattooed.
right?
No.
So it's like recon stuff? Or
He
no?
has a recon jack, and then he has a couple of ones. That
They all do.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, it's like the guy we had on with the DI one.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, you got me," and we were like, "Dude, we already knew you were gonna have that."
Yeah.
Like, there's
Yeah.
no chance.
That was his most recent one, and then he had 2. One is in Latin. It's
Do you want a drink or anything? Do you
No,
need
I'm
it?
good.
Okay.
never stop in Latin, non quam desistir. And then he has one,
She's like talking it.
and then it says, pain, misery, suffering is on his like side.
On the ribs.
Mhm.
Oh
My
man.
first tattoo was my ribs.
Yeah.
Mine was.
That's where my
mine
tattoo
was
is. It's
here.
on my ribs, my one, but it's such a.
Are you not allowed to show off tattoos in your job field?
No, you can.
I know
totally.
sometimes people like that.
We have like therapists.
I feel like you'd rock a foot tattoo.
A foot don't they fade though?
No, but
No.
they hurt like a son of a bitch.
No.
Yeah, you're gonna be going.
My
through
wife
it.
said it was the easiest tattoo she went
Really?
through.
Really?
Yeah, I've thought
But
about.
she has both of them too.
Oh, dude, my hardest is
Yeah.
still my back, and I'm about to.
You
Finish.
see bars?
No.
It looks so dope. He got the Navy tattoo. He got the pig and the
Oh,
chicken.
and the chicken.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
You know that's a thing, right?
No.
it's like a
You
tradition.
don't know.
right?
It's a tradition to get your. I think the pig on the right foot, chicken
Pig-
on the left, or vice versa.
Chicken on the right, pig on the
Huh.
left.
It's to
It's-
symbolize ships that
Yeah.
get taken over,
They,
or,
Really?
or capsule.
They used to
capsize.
have a pig and a chicken in every ship because they
And
float.
Those are the two that float.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, no, I did not know that was a
Those are two
tradition.
animals that you
That's
could
cool.
use for resources,
yeah.
and that they can float if the ship were to capsize.
Yeah.
So that's like a
You
huge.
learn
Navy
something
thing.
new. You learn
Yeah, look
something
at
new.
that. See, I should get 2 that are not chicken and pig. 2 that sink. 2 animals that absolutely sink.
A hippopotamus?
They do not sink.
No, they swim.
I wish we got that. I wish we captured that a psychologist who is probably smarter than me and GP put together thinks
She has a doctorate.
She thinks that hippos sink. Bro,
Wait.
I'll never let this go. For you, I will now get a hippo
Oh my
tattooed on my
God.
foot. And I'll be like, yeah,
No,
dude,
but like, what if they're not swimming?
They
What if
sink.
they're dead? They would sink.
this
For
is getting
sure.
pretty dark for a psychologist. We should have been JPA, flip that switch, dude. Because this is taking a turn, dude. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't need a drink or a
No,
bathroom
I'm
break or
good.
anything.
I'm solid. Yeah.
Oh, I really want to bring that up now.
You can't now.
The moment is gone. It's gone.
It's gone. Questions.
Okay.
All right, here we
Here
go.
we go.
All right, yeah. So we got some good questions for you. I know you're eager to dive into these, and we're eager to hear what you
Yeah,
offer.
let's see.
offer everyone. So yeah, JP, what we got?
All right, so I'm gonna reward these a little bit because obviously this is not a therapy session.
Yes.
So it's more of like, how would you go about telling a child
Mm-hmm.
that their parents split because of infidelity, or would you even go that route?
Yeah, I mean, I think age matters and ability to understand. And you and I are kind of talking about this. Your relationship with your child, your relationship with the spouse. I have, and I guess I can put it this way. I have worked with people who have been in this situation and later on in their children's life felt like it was the time to sit down with their kids and be like, hey, here's what occurred. And, I think it's situation dependent, but I think you can have that conversation in a healthy way. But I also think it depends on how the parents, how they work together present day.
Do you need the parent that was cheating or not faithful to come clean first?
I wouldn't say it has to be any other way. I wouldn't say it has to be a certain way, but I would say I would think it would be ideal to have the parent who maybe made that decision speak on it. But
Okay.
again, this is just more of like my opinion. If the parent who engaged in the behavior could sit down with the child when they're ready and like at an age where they can process it, that to me would be a better, a more fruitful conversation, because people make mistakes. We make mistakes. If somebody engages in infidelity and cheats, they're not this horrible, terrible person. But it's a mistake.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to teach your kids like, hey, we make mistakes, but it really depends on the context of like the family dynamics.
Okay.
Like, are both parents involved? Is one parent not involved at all? And I think you said something, earlier, like maybe do you wait until the child brings it up? There's no like black and white answer to this, other than you do want to make sure that I would think the child is like it's a developmentally appropriate time.
Yeah, because that could change the whole demeanor of the child.
And the relationship with the other parent as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you brought that up earlier. Like it could tarnish. Like
that's why I'm saying I think it would be better.
Like if the dad was the one that didn't cheat and was there telling his son or daughter it's your mom's fault. She was the one that went and did this. That could tarnish the whole relationship.
Well, and you never, I think, in general, want an ideal situation.
But it's hard not to place blame, though.
You know what I'm gonna say,
Yeah.
Because especially if you want that child to be able to have their relationship with the other parent, you can, I think, as a parent, say that to your friends and your buddies and be upset, but being careful about how you portray that to your child. Like, you never want a parent to talk negatively about another parent blatantly in front of a child, especially over multiple years and things like that. That kids carry that with them, and then they want to please their parents, so they might then align themselves with the parent who is mad mouthing the other parent, and then because they want to please that parent, and that affects the relationship with the other parent. So this is probably going to be my answer to a lot of these questions. There's a way to do that with maybe a therapist facilitating the conversation as well. Kind of in a safer environment where the therapist can kind of guide the dialogue. That's a thought also. But timing matters, context matters, the age of the child matters. That's how I'd answer that.
Nice. Thank you.
All right. Are you a backseat driver?
I feel like this goes with the stereotype, like psychologists do everything the certain way.
Mm-hmm.
They're already assessing the situation. So yeah, you and
well,
your husband.
With my family, I am so quick to be like, that's stupid. Why are you doing that? That's ridiculous. I would never say that to like clients of mine. With my family, I'm like, my way is the best way, for sure. But with everybody else, I'm like very gracious. But to answer the question, it depends on who's driving. If my brother's driving, absolutely. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you so heavy on the brakes? Are you even looking? With my husband, I'm good. I'm just like passenger princess all the way.
Oh, that's good. I'll tell you what. My wife.
You're the passenger princess.
No. My wife is neither one of us are really passenger princesses. We're both backseat drivers. And
the light's green, go!
Yeah, no. My wife is more like, oh my God, did you put your turn signal on? Dude, I'll body you. Don't ask me about what I'm doing while I'm driving. Like, I don't know.
Although my husband would say, he would say different. Because if he like brakes too late, I'm making a noise, I'm screaming, and he gets
my wife does kind of like what I would call it's like the cat and water thing. She's like instantly reaching for like the oh shit handles as if like we're gonna roll over from like coming to a late stop. Dude, my wife, she'll like grip the dash like everything. Her handprint's probably.
Does that bother you when she like? Yeah, why does that bother you?
I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like I'm not. Like,
does it make you feel bad?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like.
You don't think I can protect you?
Well, not only that, but I always relate to like the experience. I'm like I'm like, Em, I've been driving longer than you. Remember, I've been walking this earth longer than you.
How much longer?
That is
Not
2
that.
years.
No, that is not that much longer.
But ask my wife when she got her license compared to when I did.
Don't put her on blast.
I will. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Nah, she got hers when she was 18.
Well, but I would say I'm not generalizing, I'm not stereotyping, but for some women, that's like an instinct. Like, especially she has kids too, like motherly instinct. It's like, you're ready to go. Like,
I was in a really bad accident one time. And whatever, I'm good. My wife got in like one little fender bender where like the car she was in with her boyfriend, and I'm talking years ago. And I know you're gonna be like, well, maybe it's PTSD. It's not. All right. He bumped the person in front of him.
You heard it here first.
He
Dr.
bumped,
Scott.
Yeah, he bumped. Yeah. He bumped the person in front of him, and that was the rear end.
Mm-hmm.
And now my wife thinks every time we're coming up to somebody, she's like, "Are you gonna slow down?" Like grabbing the thing.
That's how
like,
impactful.
I'm like, "Can I get to the brake, please? Can I please do my job as the driver?"
Oh God.
And also,
it's your job.
I take extreme
Yeah,
offense.
this is literally your job, right?
Yeah, I'm a emergency operator. I've driven way worse vehicles that have literally no maintenance done to them. Like sometimes I've driven down the road with like maybe half of a tire. Like real talk.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, our maintainers gotta pick it up. No, I'm just kidding. But I always look at it, I'm like, this is my job. Now, most of the time, my wife does drive everywhere because then she doesn't have a say.
Mm-hmm,
Like I'll just be sitting there, and it is what it is.
Yeah, so me and my husband can't do that. Like he'll sometimes let me drive, but if I drive, we will fight. We will fight because he'll be like, "Why are you going this way?" And I'm just gonna out him right now. Why are you going this way? There's a faster way to do this. Are you gonna slow down? We just butt heads. I'm like, then you drive. You drive.
But it sounds like he's got a point.
No. My family. I'm a terrible driver.
Oh really?
I've had friends that I've driven with that after the fact were like, "You're never driving again."
Yeah, my wife's sister, Kat. When me and my wife were dating, Kat picked us up from a party or something, and it was the most nauseating drive of my life. Not even because I was drinking, but like she was just flying, and I thought I might die. This might be it, but whatever. But
yeah, so that's a good question. But we talked about it in a literal sense. I mean, yeah, backseat driver a little bit, and then with my family, I'm always right.
Okay.
With my clients, I'm gonna meet you where you're at.
So you say. Absolutely. I'm gonna use the psychologist word. Absolutely. They're like, "Oh, do you think I'm right with this?" And she's like, "Absolutely," but deep down she's like, "No."
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll
We're
plant the
working.
seed. Okay. What's next?
All right. Next is what is the worst advice you have ever given, and the best advice you have ever given?
I was thinking about this. It's hard for me to think of like the worst advice, but I remember being right out of grad school. Oh gosh, just like you just have no idea. You're still learning. And you're still trying to like figure out your voice as a psychologist and like your style. And I had some when you're first learning, there's like an internal dialogue of like, is this the right thing to say? What do I say here? Like, do I sound stupid? Why did I even say that? There was a lot of that. And actually there are some days, because I'm human, there are some days like present day, if I'm tired or like, you're just having a hard time staying in it sometimes. At the end of sessions, I'll be like, what did I even say? Like, was that even, what am I even talking about? And that's the truth. Like any therapist who says they don't feel that way, they're lying, because you can have off days. So I don't have like a specific example, but there are times I said some dumb stuff as a newer therapist. You're like, I don't think they're coming back. They're not coming back. Like, I would be so surprised if they come back.
To tweak the question, was there any time where you got where you received the worst advice?
Okay, let me think about this. Oh gosh. Well, I'll tell you, there was, in grad school, I kind of shared that I was going to go the military route as a psychologist, and it wasn't like bad advice, but it definitely, it stuck with me, and it was from like a supervisor who totally didn't agree or felt like this was not a good fit for me. going the military route
Take that.
as a psychologist.
Take that.
And I was like, why would she say that? Like, does she not think that I can handle this? Does she even know, like, what she's talking about? Because a lot of people have misconceptions about, one, the military, and you guys don't need me to, like, harp on that, like, what the military is, and two, what it is to be a psychologist in the military. Now I know she probably didn't know the nuances, but that one stuck with me to where I was, like, questioning my path, but obviously I wholeheartedly feel this is exactly where I need to be and like the population that I love working with. So you know, that goes to show people are gonna have opinions no matter what.
Oh yeah, we all love opinions. Was that a two-parter question?
Yep, that was a two-parter. And then next one is
Well, what was the second part?
Was it
worst and best.
worse than
Oh.
best? Oh, the best advice?
Yeah. What was the best advice?
Again, I'm thinking of supervisors. The best advice I ever got when kind of thinking about working with patients in a clinical setting is like, if you are feeling a certain way about an interaction with a client, like if you are, so I used to work in inpatient psych units, and they're very challenging. It's a very challenging population. And there are certain types of personalities that, you know, they're going through a lot of emotional pain. And so sometimes when hurt people, right? Like, you know that saying. Well, there was a situation where, like, sometimes you can be intimidated. If you're, like, on a unit that's locked and people are really going through it, they'll test some boundaries, right? So I was very anxious. This patient was kind of confronting me in an aggressive manner. And I was, again, brand new. And I was very anxious, and you can kind of feel like you have to hide that. Like, I'm good, I'm fine. But people can read it. Most people can sense, oh, am I making this person uncomfortable? Or, and instead of acting like disingenuous, pretending like it wasn't bothering me, the advice that I got from a supervisor was like, hey, if a patient is intimidating you, or making you anxious, you can say that. You can say like, hey, and I ended up doing that. I was like, hey, your behavior is making me nervous. And it totally brought the whole situation down. And the patient was like, oh, that was not my, so I think we're kind of taught as therapists in some ways to just be this like unbiased person, but you absolutely can, and this goes for just as people, you can say how you're feeling about stuff. And even in the client therapist dynamic, it's okay to kind of own what you're feeling versus you're feeling a certain way and it's all over your face and you're like, no, it's fine, but it's all over your face.
Yeah.
That doesn't play well. That's not genuine. So that was advice that I, to this day, carry with me, like, in my interactions with people, with clients, like, put it out there. Say what emotion is in the room. If that makes sense.
No, that does. Thank you.
No, absolutely.
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 Courtesy laugh word.
I really did. I didn't even notice it. I'm gonna feel like bad about that now when I say that. Like having a conversation with somebody and being like, absolutely, and then looking back like,
it's kind of like the same thing as like when you're telling a story to your buddy and he goes, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's
like,
crazy.
You're not even listening.
Dude. You didn't even hear me.
All right.
You hurt my feelings.
Yeah. Next question. What would be your best advice for someone that has troubles allowing or feeling their emotions?
Who feel like they can't feel their emotions?
Yeah, like they can't feel their emotions. Either way, whether it's like, I guess you could phrase it like the military way, where it's like, it's bad for someone in the military to feel their emotions. Like, you're supposed to be shut out to that. Or, I guess someone that's not in the military, where it's like, well, no one around me cares, so it doesn't even matter.
I'll just like suffer in silence.
Yeah, I would say even like how I brought up earlier, like maybe not feeling the emotion, but expressing it. Like how can they get it, put it to words?
This is a lot of the work in therapy is helping people be okay with what they're feeling. Like your emotions are not going to kill you. your feelings are just feelings. They don't have to dictate your behavior. They don't have to control what you do. It's the same with your thoughts. You can have really dark thoughts, but you don't have to act on them in any way. They're just thoughts. And I think with emotions in particular, one, it's learning how to literally label what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And people make fun of me, but like you can Google an emotion wheel. And what I love about these emotion wheels is it's like anger, there's different like levels to anger. You can be frustrated, you can have rage, you can, be annoyed, but just calling it anger doesn't get at those nuances. Or you can feel angry and it's actually, I feel embarrassed. Or you can feel anger and it's actually, I feel inadequate. But nobody teaches that in school. I don't know if they're teaching it in schools now, but nobody in most places ever learned how to say, oh, like this is what I'm feeling. So part of being able to sit with your emotions is labeling them accurately. Because once you label them accurately, you can make a little bit more room for, okay, like what happened that I'm feeling this way? Is this justified? Kind of think through it a little bit more. It's like, this is like a metaphor that I sometimes use. Do you guys remember ever growing up in school and the teacher left, like you're in a classroom with a bunch of kids and the teacher left the classroom for a second?
Oh, I have a great story.
What would happen?
Oh, I don't want to.
Go insane.
Kids are all over the place. Yep. I'm sure you have just.
Well, mine was a little worse. My teacher.
You were the leader, weren't you?
You were the leader.
Damn straight. Damn straight. Anybody that went to Pennsbury High School and graduated in my graduating class, I think it was 11th grade. I had a teacher that had narcolepsy, so would fall asleep. Was it?
Narcolepsy?
Yeah, same thing I said. Tomato. Anyway, where she would fall asleep, and she would fall asleep like in class. So our teacher wouldn't physically leave the room, but would absolutely leave the room when she would go night in the middle of class. And we were taking a test one time, and she fell asleep. I went over and wrote all the answers on the whiteboard as fast as I could. Just told the class letter order and started at number 1, A, B, 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 C, 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 and wrote them all down. She woke up and found me there. I got in-school suspension.
As you should.
But all the kids passed.
As you should.
I mean, yeah, you were helping out the...
One team, one fight.
Yup.
I'll gladly take the fall, because guess what? Unsung hero.
That is...
Class clown hero.
Yeah, that makes sense for you.
I'll never forget. Her name was Mrs. Shubin. I'll say it. Mrs. Shubin, she woke up and was like, what are you doing? And then saw everything on the board, and I was like, why are you sleeping? That was the only thing I could
Well, you know what, Valid. If that's the case, like, it's a fair opportunity. It's a fair opportunity.
Yeah, don't, like, but it's kind of the same thought. Like, another worse one I had, and I'll come clean. I'm not going to say the teacher's name. But my kids love this. My kids love this story.
God.
So I had a teacher that one time yelled at me. This was a science class. I was in 7th or 8th grade. I used to have on my right big toe probably over 1,000 warts. Straight up. 1,000 warts on my toe.
This is not where I thought this was.
Yeah.
1,000 warts. My wife loves this story. My wife, this lady lives in our hometown, so sometimes she'll see her and just get the thought like, holy shit. This teacher yelled at me, tried to put me in my place as the class clown. When she left the class, I went, took my shoe off, took my sock off, grabbed her water bottle, rubbed my wart toe on her water bottle, closed it back, closed it back up, came back, sat in my class. She came back and instantly went like this, and all the kids were like, oh! Because they knew.
What are you doing?
Did she ever find out?
I don't know. You know what? I'll let her rip. Miss Vitucci. Yep, Mrs. Vitucci.
Well.
Sorry.
I'm about to send her this
apologize.
episode.
Did you have remorse?
At the time, no. Now, maybe. I really, really hope things panned out well. Yeah.
So, my point exactly.
So I wouldn't leave me alone in the class.
Wreaking havoc. Yeah. That's what happens.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
But it's a great...
That felt good to get out. This is a good therapy session.
Yeah.
I've already confessed to
I'm more concerned
sins.
about the lack of remorse. That's,
like I
that's
said, now that I'm
definitely
grown up, if somebody rubbed their wart toe on my water bottle, I'd be really upset.
Yeah, that's dark. That's
well,
dark.
she shouldn't have tried me.
So back to my metaphor, I guess. Yeah. Basically, thinking about that, like your emotions, when you don't know how to label them, it's like unsupervised kids in the classroom. You're just feeling what you're feeling. It's all over the place. But when you're able to accurately label the emotion, things settle down. Versus if you are just like, oh, I'm angry, you're gonna have all those reactions, those, you know, the rapid heart rate, maybe you feel hot, maybe you feel like you want to like punch somebody in the face. When in reality, if you're able to be like, actually, I'm feeling helpless. That's what's going on. I feel like I have no control. It's not just anger. So I think learning how to identify what you're actually feeling. The fact is that if you don't express your emotions in some way, they don't just disappear. Like, it builds up, and it's gonna come out. It's gonna come out some way, one way or the other.
Resurface, right? Yeah.
It's gonna resurface. It's gonna come out as anger, where you're snapping at your spouse, and it's like not even anything your spouse did. You relate?
I'm laughing, but I might relate.
And that's, you're not alone. Like, this is, I've done it. Like, we're all human. We do it. But it's going to come out maybe not sleeping well. Like, if you're anxious and you're not dealing with that anxiety, it's going to affect your sleep. It's going to affect your concentration. So labeling it and then not shoving the emotion away. So I'm not saying that you have to go immediately tell someone how you're feeling, but you need to be good with letting the emotion be there without trying to do anything to get rid of it. So like if you're feeling chest tightness because you're anxious, sitting with that feeling, letting it be there, acknowledging it, it's not going to stay that way. Emotions ebb and flow. You're not going to be anxious forever. But if you just let yourself experience it without trying to get rid of it, it will dissipate. But the more you add on, like, oh, well, I'm just going to go work out for 3 hours and get rid of it, or, oh, I'm just going to drink to numb myself, then you create other problems, right? And you just add on the problems. Or I'm ashamed because I feel helpless. That's a whole, an additional emotion you're packing on versus, all right, I'm feeling anxious. Can I sit with that? Can I be okay with that? Can I still do what's important to me while feeling that emotion? Your emotions are not going to harm you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that answer that question?
No, yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, I think you know.
But I think learning how to do that is, again, same end to the other question is therapists can help you learn how to do that, how to learn that skill. Yeah. So
hard selling this therapist thing.
That's the takeaway is like, go do it. Just do it.
All right, I guess we can go the Aaron Rodgers route and opinions on psychedelics and treating PTSD.
So I will not pretend I know anything about this. This is a simple answer. Tons of research coming out about the benefits. The VA's has funded research that, they're looking into it. There is something to it. That's probably all I'll say about it because I don't want to speak incorrectly.
Yeah, it's like if somebody asked me a question about, what don't I know?
Hockey.
Stop that. Yeah, no, we appreciate that answer.
I'm not going to pretend to know.
But that
anything
goes back to you saying like genuine. Like just because you have the title of psychologist doesn't mean that you know every single piece that goes into it.
It's okay.
So we appreciate that.
I think that's something I see a lot too. Is like
that's the stereotype. I think like they're like, oh, she's a psychologist. She knows how to handle this.
There's a lot of things I don't know. Like kids are not my arena. Like working with kids, I can kind of speak blanket terms, but like I'm not going to pretend to know how to treat behavioral problems in a child, and that's okay. It doesn't make you. Therapists have specialties and things like that, and I just, again, in life, it's okay to like be like, I don't know.
But I think that's where genuine, like you said, plays to your advantage. So if you're upfront saying like, hey, I'm not going to tell you that I know everything about children there or therapy for a child or anything or psychedelics, but you know the resources. You would probably know somebody.
And I can help you get to, and that's even like in session. I struggle with this too, but like when you're working with people, it's also okay to be like, you might have a therapist look at you and be like, you know what, I need to sit with that. Like, I'm not sure how to respond to that in this moment. That does not mean they're a bad therapist. That's actually a therapist that is showing you their humanness. Yeah. And I don't want to just say something to say something. Yeah. Let me just sit with you in this moment of like, we don't know,
Yeah.
And that's good.
No, we can definitely appreciate that because nobody likes a bullshitter. Like,
and that's the one thing about the military. I've worked with a lot of people that have a good sense for, they're just blowing steam.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, they're just blowing smoke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and you'll lose clients that way. Like it's.
That's why I stopped going to you.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But yeah, no, I think that nails it for you. Like that question was very, very good, and you handled it well. And yeah.
Yeah,
I think
but
definitely
something that people are researching, and I'm interested to see what comes out of the research with that. So.
Nice.
All right. What do you believe are best ways to manage mental trauma and stress for zero effects on daily life?
So I'll talk about like the mental trauma and stress, I think, differently. So when I hear mental trauma, I think of it, I look at that as kind of like a different level. Obviously, go to therapy for sure. But if that's not something that you feel like you can do right now, one of the best things you can do is just talk about it. The reason why people might develop something like PTSD is avoidance. I'm just gonna like not talk about it, pretend it didn't happen. I'm gonna avoid reminders. That is what feeds PTSD symptoms. So, you know, if something happens and you share it with like a trusted loved one, you can get that feedback of like, hey, you know, this isn't your fault, or it could have gone this way, and you get that corrective feedback. And over time, you kind of come back to baseline, versus if you just shove it down and pretend you're fine, you're only in your own head and like can build up the scenarios of, this is my fault. This is, you know, I should have done this differently. Like, why did this happen to me? So talking about it with the mental trauma piece with someone that is going to be a safe person for you. If you know that you have a friend that's not going to be able to like give you what you need emotionally.
Mike.
We all have friends like this. Like we have friends that.
Humor. Right out the gate.
You use humor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can be funny.
And there's a time and a place. There's
Yeah.
a time and a place for that, for sure.
Yeah. No, and I agree with that. I think there is a time where you can laugh stuff off, and then there's a time where somebody maybe needs a laughter from you, but then there is those serious moments where you need to show them that, like,
I'm listening,
yeah,
I'm here.
humor's not the option.
So talking about it with someone that you trust.
Just because it's easy for me doesn't mean it's easy for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there we go. Freaking absolutely. I mean,
You hit me with it. We should have had like an absolutely
So
count.
annoying.
Yeah,
It's
maybe
so
we like
annoying.
tie it into the video, like how many times does she say absolutely?
That's so embarrassing.
People are just like making bets on it. There's their
But,
gambling problem.
The other thing I would say to that question is approach what you avoid. So a perfect example of this is like if you, this is going to be a cliche example, but if you don't like sitting with your back to the door in a restaurant, you probably need to approach that thing. You need to sit with your anxiety about that so that you can learn, okay, most situations are safe.
Is that a common one?
Yeah.
It is?
For sure.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, I don't like sitting with my back to the door.
Uh-huh. Or even like just crowd is a common one.
Yeah.
Like I think if let's take driving. Like if you are
The backseat driver.
are you afraid if you're afraid to like go over a bridge, and there are people who have like phobias about that.
Yeah.
The only way to get over that phobia is by doing it. Now we're not going to flood the person, but little
Just
by
put
little.
it right on the George Washington Bridge.
Yeah. And
Yeah, exactly.
Let's hit the Chesapeake Bay one that's like
That's
17 miles
gonna
long.
backfire, right? But slowly inching towards it, like, okay, let's get in the car, let's sit at the front of the bridge. So approaching those things over time in a slow way that you kind of overcome your anxiety little by little related to trauma. It's hard, but that's the point, because you have to learn, like, okay, I'm safe. Every time you approach that thing and nothing bad happens, it's like reaffirming, okay, I'm safe. Like, this doesn't happen every time. So that's a very general answer to mental trauma, but avoidance is what kind of feeds those symptoms. Now, stress, I would kind of go back to what I said originally, is the basics to begin with. I know for me, just as a person, structure. Like having structure in my day, you know, my getting ready for work in the morning is kind of like my time to start my day off right. You know, I listen to podcasts, I drink my coffee, I try to be mindful about that. And when I say mindful, I just mean slowing down the process, like being in the present, enjoying your coffee, like not rushing through the daily habits. That's the opposite of mindfulness. So stress with the basics, sleep, physical activity, eating well, and having maybe those little rituals that bring you some small moment of peace. So you can have a horrible day at work, but can you find little micro moments that are just for you? Like if you hate where you work and you have a terrible boss, can you like find spaces that are you can have gratitude for? So maybe you have an interaction with somebody that's really positive and is impactful. That's something. That's not meaningless. It's really easy. If we're looking for the negative, we're going to find it. Easy. If we're looking for the ways that everybody's against us and that things are going terribly, we're going to find it. It's much harder to look for the things that it's like, oh, that was a really good moment with that person, or I got this positive feedback and that felt good, or I was able to spend time with my family and have like a good dinner this evening with them, and that's something. So trying to shift that narrative to, it sounds like I'm saying the positive, but I'm just saying notice those micro moments that are not so bad. Like there's a lot of beauty in life that we bypass because we're so stressed. So I can talk about stress all day. I don't know. Do you guys want more on that?
No, I think that nails it, because I'm actually happy that you broke down mental trauma versus stress.
Because stress is inevitable.
Yeah.
We're all going to have it.
Yeah, it's just how you handle it in the continuum. Like, kind of like what we see in the military is those 4 colors. Like, you're in that stress continuum. Like, where are you managing it? Where do you have to do certain things?
And actually, you made me think, too, like, if there's something you can do about the stress, like, if there's something controllable that you can problem solve through, do it. Like, if you need to have a conversation with somebody about something that's happening that you don't like, have that conversation in an appropriate way. But if it's uncontrollable and there's nothing you can do about it, that's when you fall back on, like, all right, so what do I have control over here?
Yeah. No, that's good. I think you nailed it. One thing I do have to ask you, though, because you said in your mornings you listen to podcasts. What podcast do you listen to?
This one for sure.
Amen. Hey,
Thoughts.
that's what I'm talking about.
I am a listener. I'm a supporter.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, for those that are listening, you want a seat on our podcast, we better be on your playlist. All right?
Yep.
Yeah, that'll set you apart.
But I'll tell you what, I don't listen to a lot of self-help. I actually listen to things unrelated to work. Of course, I sound like every person these days, but I love true crime podcasts. What else? A lot of true crime. And so like doing things that are separate from your job as well.
Yeah. Like
kind of taking you out of that mindset.
I can't say the same though. I listen to a lot of humorous ones. My go-to.
That's not your job.
Why not?
He's like,
I already said from the beginning of time I'm a class clown. Everywhere I go. All right. Whether it's work, out in public, anywhere, I'm the class clown. But and we appreciate that you listen so much to us. And
yeah, I'm rooting for y'all. I think this is a great thing you guys are doing. So.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. All right, what else we got, JP?
All right, last one we have is how can one deal with major life directional changes that they may not be ready for?
Yeah, I really like this one. So I talk about values a lot in the work that I do with people, and when I say values, what I mean is qualities in life that you are striving towards. And this is from a type of approach called acceptance and commitment therapy, which I love. Again, that's acceptance and commitment therapy. Look it up. It's a very good approach. So this idea that goals are like a destination. Like, okay, I have a goal that I want to compete in this race, and I this is my time that I want to get. That's great. That's wonderful. But values are the qualities that you're kind of living towards as you're working towards that goal. So when I was kind of just learning this therapeutic approach, I did some of the exercises on myself and identifying your values. So an example would be like, I want to be a loyal partner. Like, it's a quality. I want to be loyal. I want to be competent. I want to be adventurous. And everybody's values are going to be different. Now, just because they're your values doesn't mean that you emulate them perfectly, but you strive towards them. So whenever you have like a big life decision, it's good to think about, all right, what do I value in my life? And you can look this up, like list of ACT values. All right, well, I value challenging myself. Taking this new path might be in line with that value. If that's important to you, if that is the part of your journey and your process, that might help you decide, all right, this is the route I want to go. I value, and I kind of thought about this when I was getting out of the military too, because I loved my time in the Air Force, and I think I could have stayed in for a long time, but my values had changed. So again, I was apart from my husband for the first part of our marriage, and it sucked. You know, it didn't feel like the kind of marriage that I was wanting. And so at the time, it's like, I value being present in my family. I value like having a strong foundation with my spouse. Doesn't mean I don't love my job and my career, but I know for me, that's where my values lie right now. And so that helped me make that decision. So knowing your values, knowing what's important to you, and like the type of person you want to be in this life can help you make that decision. The other piece of this is like just trusting yourself. Like if in your gut you're like, this is not my path, if you stay the status quo and you know you're going to be thinking about that other path for the rest of your life, that is worse than trying and failing. Like even if you fail, that's okay. That's the thing about, I hear a lot of these days with the population I work with, is failure's not an option. Failure's not an option. It's totally an option. And I might get flack for this, but if we tell people you cannot fail, what happens? When they do fail, what happens? They berate themselves.
I was like, I don't know if I have the answer. She was looking at me like, well, she's going to drill me with it. What happens, huh? Answer the damn question. What happens?
Well, there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of shame in that versus accepting, hey, I'm going to try this route in my life. And if it goes terribly, all right. If it goes great, then that's what I wanted. But not doing it and kind of being paralyzed by the fear of failure, to me, like that's worse. That's how I would think about that question. If it's on your heart and it's something that like in your gut you are feeling, don't fear it. You gotta trust yourself a little bit.
Nice. No, I like that. I think,
dramatic.
Yeah.
Very dramatic.
I think that nailed all the questions that we had, and I think that'll really go, help those individuals that ask that. Yeah. I mean, we hope so too. I guess as like a little time, for myself and JP and around our podcast, because we want to know from the therapy, from the clinical psychologist standpoint, what advice do you have for us?
Oh gosh, you put me on the spot. Like in what sense?
As our podcast, and like I guess just for our direction of what we want to do with the podcast, and don't sugarcoat it. But I personally want to know, like, what advice do you have for us? That's our last question.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like a lot of what we talked about today is that genuineness. I think at the end of the day, I don't know anything about this world, right? But so many people put out podcasts.
Yeah.
And I think the ones that are successful, and I don't have any stats to back this up, but the ones I listen to are that genuine, this is who I am. Like, I'm not trying to be something I'm not. I see that in y'all, and that what you're trying to do. Sorry.
No, that was hard.
And like being okay with this is our vision, and like it's okay if, because I'm sure that you have opportunities where you can bring people on and things like that. But if you have a certain vision about mental health awareness, like sticking to that, even if something shiny is like right in front of you, if that's your vision for what this podcast is, quality over quantity is, and I think that's part of it, the genuineness of the mission. What else would I say? I mean, listen, I'm impressed that the drive that it takes to do something like this.
Absolutely.
Like, y'all are inspiring to me too, because I think a lot of people, it's like, yeah, this sounds like a great idea, but I could never do it. And I think the fact that you guys are you're doing it, you've taken the steps, that in itself is probably half the battle. Like, there are so many people who think about it and have these great ideas and never execute. And you're executing. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does.
But
we appreciate it. All good things, no bad things, right? Good report card, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's all I got for you.
Well, no, that was awesome, and I honestly think that brings us to a good wrap-up point. We wanted to save our question for last. So again, thank you, Dr. Pace.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was fun.
It was awesome. I'm glad you had fun. I'm glad that we got to do this. And again, thank you so much from
absolutely.
myself and JP and our listeners. We truly appreciate your time, and we were glad to have you. But yeah, you heard it here. This concludes our episode today, episode 6. Dr. Lauren Pace. This is it. Stash Away Thoughts. We keep doing these things. Check us out. Don't try to find Dr. Pace, all right? It doesn't work that way.
I don't have a business profile or anything like that.
We don't have cards to hand out. There is no 1-800 Dr. Pace number.
No.
I was joking about that. Don't look for her. Don't do all that weird stuff, all right? Don't be weird. But keep listening to us, and maybe we'll offer more insight as the episodes keep going, different guests that we bring on. As usual, we always appreciate you, and thank you.
Good.
Woo! Fun stuff.